Everyone, welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk here at 12:30. I am Donovan Long. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. If you are new to this digital streaming service, if you will, welcome. If you have been with us before, thank you for coming back. So basically, just to put it in a nutshell, this is kind of our real-time way of disseminating information to you with regard to what's happening all over our community. And the big story we're talking about now is the flooding, folks. We know this has devastated so many parts of southeast Wisconsin. We have our crews kind of scattered throughout parts of our viewing area talking about how this flooding has devastated their homes, their properties. We've been hearing from so many neighbors, so many residents and business owners in this community. I mean, the flooding was historic. And we know a lot of this is forcing people out of their homes, forcing children out of their homes, and it's a really devastating thing to have to talk about, but it is real. This is happening real time. We heard from the mayor earlier today talking about, and of course, and county leaders who were with him, all of whom were talking about different ways they are using technology to better assist those folks who desperately need help. They talked about how this will let them know essentially different parts of debris, how to identify it, where to find it, how to safely load it up and haul it away for folks who need that kind of service and that kind of help. But that's just one of many stories we've been hearing from folks who have been deeply affected by the flooding. I mentioned a little bit ago that we have different reporters scattered throughout our viewing area talking about the impact of this. We do have our Durante Matthews, who is in Milwaukee. He'll join us on our digital broadcast a little bit later, but he's also in the field surveying the damage, looking at the debris, looking at the destruction, talking to families who've been impacted by this as well. We also have one of our photographers who is in Waukesha County in the town of Merton, and we know that community has also been devastated by the floods as well. Historic flooding leading to a lot of changes in that community. And so that photographer, Jeff Frings, is going to give us kind of an aerial view that will kind of paint the picture from above of the destruction that this flooding caused Saturday night. We know a lot of you have been tuning in with us and sending us your photos, your videos, and your messages. So we thank you for being our eyes and ears on the ground there, because it is nearly impossible to get to every parts of the community all at once. So thank you for doing that for us. And if it's okay, please continue sending us those images and those videos that will better help us tell your story and get you the help that you so desperately need and deserve as you continue dealing with all of the devastation and destruction. We should be getting a live feed from our photographer, Jeff Frings, pretty soon here. We are just kind of waiting on him to, I believe, get set up or get a better signal. Independent of that, we do have a photographer, Gabby, who is at Cafe Hollander in Tosa Village, Wauwatosa, one of the hardest hit areas. That's one of the hardest hit areas from the storm, from the flooding that happened as a result of the storm on Saturday. We do know that so many officials are preparing to address the media as we speak. If you bear with me, I'm just going to turn around here just to gather my bearings. We do have a couple of different images and video coming to us in real time as we speak. But in the meantime, I want to give you this view of what we're seeing here right now. This is the Merton Mill Pond Dam. We know it has been severely damaged. This is where our photographer, Jeff Frings, is. He's giving us this real-time view of the area as we are continuing to monitor the flash flooding and its impact on this particular area. We do know, according to several reports, the Village of Heartland Police posted photos showing how severely damaged the Merton Mill Pond Dam is. They say there's a good chance it could fail. We know so far the dam has not been breached, but the police department is warning people and business owners near the Bark River that the water levels could indeed rise. So the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources plans to reinforce the dam, but we do know, again, this is in the Waukesha County area. You're seeing sort of a clear image right there. Again, we are kind of experiencing some technical difficulties, so if the image comes in and out, we do apologize because of the perhaps the downed power lines and the effects of the flooding, it's kind of having an impact on the technology and on our service as we receive live images back and forth from our studio to our photographer in the field. So we may be losing that image every now and again, but thank you for bearing with us, because this is we're bringing this to you in real time, and unfortunately technology does fail. But if you were just now joining us, kind of saw a glimpse of the image. That was kind of an image of the out of Waukesha County from one of our photographers, Jeff Frings, showing the damage to the Merton Dam, excuse me. We do know that that's an issue right now. The dam has not been breached, the Merton Mill Pond Dam. It's severely damaged though. No injuries reported, but there is warning to people and business leaders in the area. Officials and law enforcement want those folks to stay away because those water levels are high. And again, that dam rather is severely damaged. Again, has not been breached. That's the good news. But it is something that we will be monitoring and keeping an eye out for as we progress. My producer is speaking with me for 1 second. I'm sorry, Delaney, repeat that. Okay, we're going to get another image, if you guys bear with me, of what's happening in Wauwatosa. Here is a live image that we're kind of seeing. We know that law enforcement officers, county leaders, and other folks and dignitaries in the community are expected to kind of speak about the issue in Wauwatosa. We do know that folks there are kind of rallying around trying to support Cafe Hollander. That is in kind of the village of Tosa, or Tosa Village, I should say. It's better commonly referred to as. We do know that area has been damaged, and we do know that people who are affiliated with Cafe Hollander will be holding a bit of a news conference today as far as kind of explaining how they've been impacted by the floods. If you've been watching our coverage, if you've been tuning in with us also through our Fox Local mobile app, then you would know that Wauwatosa, where Cafe Hollander is, at least one of the locations, has been severely damaged. I mean, that area has been devastated. It's one of the hardest hit areas with regard to the flooding impact. We do know that crews at that restaurant are expected to give an update about substantial water damage to the restaurant, again, because of the flooding. We expect them to talk about the repairs needed for them to reopen. They, of course, are closed as they continue dealing with all of the impacts of the flooding and trying to kind of start over or turn the page and go to a different chapter for themselves. But it is very clear that they are in need of much help, and they are trying to reopen for you customers out there, you fans out there of their restaurant and their service. But they have been severely impacted. We know that Cafe Hollander's kitchen is located at the ground level of the building, excuse me, which is kind of nearest the river. That kitchen was extensively flooded. That's according to a spokesperson from the Lowlands Group who owns Cafe Hollander. We do know that Buckatobin Tavern and Supper Club, I believe I may mispronounce that, but another restaurant affiliated with the Lowlands Group is located across from Cafe Hollander. That did not sustain any damage. That is open for business, so that is kind of a good sign here that not everybody was affected, and those who weren't affected are trying their best to accommodate other people and serve other people during what has become a trying time for people in this community. But we are just waiting on a news conference to start here at Cafe Hollander. This is in Wauwatosa. We do have one of our photographers there on standby, ready to kind of update us on where recovery efforts stand right now at Cafe Hollander. Again, this is in Wauwatosa. We were expecting these folks to talk about the damage they sustained, what it's going to take for them to reopen, what kind of resources they need to better help their staff members open back up so that they can continue accommodating and serving parts of our community. But Wauwatosa, it was affected pretty severely. It was damaged pretty severely. And so we are waiting to see how even we here at Fox 6 can better make sure that we disseminate information to other folks that can help and help restore this restaurant and get it back to where it was before the flooding devastated this. So what you're looking at now is what looks to be like a real-time interview that's getting ready to happen. I'll go ahead and bring up the audio level so that we can better understand what this gentleman is getting ready to talk about with regard to Cafe Hollander.
Okay.
I have the audio open. I cannot hear it from my end. There may be a technical difficulty happening. But
Eric Wagner,
I'm just going to ask my producer, bear with me.
ERICWAGNER.
Can we hear Delaney? Can you hear
CEO
from
and
the
founder.
Okay. So, first of all...
Okay, I am not able to hear anything that they're saying,
Thanks.
unfortunately, but we'll get that worked out so that I'm able to better serve our viewers. But I'll let you listen into this interview.
Yeah, the first calls that I got were around 6:30 in the morning, and it was just that we had some water in the kitchen, and you know, my expectation at that point was it's going to be a hassle. We'll open a little bit late. Must have come in from the rain last night. And on my way out, I started getting more calls and letting me know that it was a little bit more serious. And by the time I got out here, we had about a foot or two of water, and that was around 7 or 8. And by 9 or 10, we had about 4 feet of water in the kitchen. And then we realized that we had a much bigger problem on our hands.
And so this is the first time this ever happened here on this
Yeah.
property damage?
Yeah, we had the water lapped up against the back door once, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and we had a little bit of seepage, but that was it. Nothing even remotely close to this.
And so, you know, with this all happening, what has the progress been like so far in terms of cleaning up, and like what are some of the damages that were left behind? 'Cause I was told your kitchen's in the basement?
Our kitchen is in the lower level, yeah. So the damage is huge. I would guess 75 to 80% of the equipment is ruined. We're gonna have to rip out a lot of the walls, repair those, rebuild them, redo a lot of the floor. Our sound system was destroyed, a bunch of electrical, the manager's office. It's a pretty huge destruction. The cleanup, if you went down there right now, it just looks like kind of a wet, somewhat dirty kitchen that my team they all stepped in first thing Monday morning, rolled up their sleeves along with Sid Grinker and our construction company, and they all have made incredible progress in a short time.
And so, you know, with all of this progress is going on, I did saw the sign that says you guys are closed for repair maintenance. How long would you say this is going to be closed down?
The kitchen will probably be closed for about 6 weeks. We're shooting for around September 28th to open. We are hoping to participate in Tosa Fest by reopening the bar only around September 6th, if we can get some big items completed.
And so, you know, with the community who is trying to get together to help out, you know, try to get this restaurant back open as soon as possible, you know, is there ways people can help out with re-abolishing or like donating towards Cafe Hollander of any kind?
We're not looking for donations at all, but there are some smaller businesses in town that were also really hit, and I think the best thing the community can do is go and support them. We're opening Buckataben for breakfast every day for our morning regulars, so that there's somewhere to go. That's a great way to support. But I think that, you know, some of the smaller businesses I think are really going to need some help, especially for those that don't have insurance, and probably most don't.
And yet, all the other places around Cafe Hollander, they didn't get damaged.
I know that there was damage for some of the other places in the village. I don't know what to extent.
Okay, and so of course, you know, with all this situation going on, you know, how are you and your staff members been doing since Sunday?
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster for sure. I mean, it's hard to see all the chairs stacked up on the patio, which would be full of people right now and vibrant, so that's hard to watch. But you know, we just went through COVID with the same team members, and you know, once again, they've just like stepped up in incredible ways, and it's great. We have about 75 employees here, and we were able to place all of them at our other restaurants, so nobody's employment is disruptive. Our manager teams are at other restaurants or overseeing the remodeling, so we've been really happy that we've been able to keep everybody completely employed.
Is there anything else you'd like to share that may have missed, or anything you want to share to the viewers at home?
I would say that, you know, as hard as this is for businesses like mine to deal with, the real heartbreaking is seeing what's happening to so many people in their homes, whether they have insurance or not. Just the overwhelming, I don't even want to call it hassle or headache, it's so much more than that. But what they're going through and the loss of things that can never be insured, that's really, I think, the people that really need help.
Thank you, Eric.
Oh, okay, great.
That was fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have permission to go inside?
Yeah, I'd like to
All
go
right,
with
folks,
you because
if
it's.
you're just now joining us, you've been listening to an interview that our photographer Gabby was doing with with a representative from the Lowlands Group who owns Cafe Hollander. We can tell you that he said their kitchen is on the lower level. We do know, according to him, 75 to 80% of the equipment in Cafe Hollander is damaged. That is significant. They don't really have a timeline as to when they are going to reopen, but they are shooting for sometime in mid-September. We do know that they are looking to reopen for Tosa Fest, but just a bar to be able to serve alcohol. But in terms of like kitchen areas and food service, that is on hold for now as they continue rebuilding what the damage from the flooding kind of left behind. Independent of that, what is noteworthy, he's saying they are not taking donations for the restaurant. The gentleman you just heard from, who was a representative from the Lowlands Group, said that they want supporters and people in this community to donate money and support smaller locally owned businesses, particularly ones without flood insurance. So that is something he wants everybody to put their efforts toward, because they seem to be able to be self-sufficient and to be able to stand on their own. They want pretty much everyone to benefit from community service and the help, because this is a village here and people like to help people, and people are very, very philanthropic. So he wants people to use that spirit to support smaller, locally owned businesses, folks. In the meantime, I want to get to our Jason Calvi, who is right now joining us from Milwaukee, talking about recovery efforts here. I believe he's interviewing the fire chief of Milwaukee. Let's listen in if possible. I believe he is doing an interview as we speak. Let's see, I don't know. Jason, are you able to hear me? I'm not hearing any audio at the moment. But I believe Jason is wired in to where he should be hearing. And again, folks, thank you for bearing with us. This is real-time technology. You know, it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But we are standing by for Jason Calvi, who is in the field reporting on recovery efforts for us. He's having an interview, from what I understand, with the fire chief as far as what they're seeing on the ground in terms of recovery efforts. Delaney, repeat that for me. Okay. We are just looking at an image of the drone coming from one of our drones who our photographer is flying. I am understanding from our producer Delaney, we may be able to get to Jason in just a little bit. He seems to be in the middle of an interview that we thought we could take live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But in the meantime, I believe what you're looking at is the Merton Mill Pond Dam that has been severely damaged. We know, Cruz talked about this. This is in Wisconsin, Waukesha County, southeast Wisconsin, of course. We do know that the flooding in that area has caused, according to officials, about $2 million worth of damage to area roadways. We do know that what you're looking at now is the Merton Mill Pond Dam has been severely damaged. The Village of Heartland police have posted videos and pictures of this dam, saying there's some serious damage here. They say there's a good chance this could fail. This dam could fail. We do know so far, according to officials, this dam has not been breached, but the police department, sending out warnings, urgent warnings to people and business owners near this area, near the Bark River, that these water levels you are looking at real time through our drone, those water levels could rise, folks. And we do know that could cause even more destruction and kind of compound the recovery efforts that are already underway to get people the help and the resources that they desperately need right now around the clock. We do know the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources plans to reinforce the dam. Again, this dam has been, yes, severely damaged. The water levels are high. They could rise potentially, of course, if we get more rainfall. This dam has not been breached or has not breached. That is the good news out of what has been a very challenging situation for law enforcement, fire officials, county leaders, all. It's an all hands on deck situation here. But this is something we will continue to follow as the day progresses. Again, we have several of our folks out in the community giving you a real-time update on how different communities are responding to recovery efforts, to the damage to flooding left behind from over the weekend. Our Durante Matthews is in Milwaukee surveying different parts of that community and how families are getting by day, minute by minute. We also have, as I mentioned, Jason Calvey, who just interviewed the Milwaukee police chief. And you just heard from our photographer, Gabby, who interviewed with a gentleman who's part of a group who owns Cafe Hollander in Wauwatosa, one of the hardest hit areas. Cafe Hollander is deeply affected. But we'll get into more of this and unpack what we have learned thus far on the Wisconsin Live Desk on the other side of the break. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be right back after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Donovan Long here. Time now is 12:52. Thank you so much for your viewership and for sticking with us as we continue following the recovery efforts that are underway right now as people continue reeling and both cleaning up and kind of surveying the damage that the flood left behind from over the weekend on Saturday. We've been following every inch of the recovery process from different parts of southeast Wisconsin. One of our reporters is on the ground, Durante Matthews. Want to bring him in now. He's in Milwaukee surveying the damage there. Brother, what are you seeing behind you? What is the recovery efforts looking like? How are families doing, if you've been able to speak with them since you've been on the ground there?
Yeah, Donovan, we're here on 56 in Sheridan, so that's over on Milwaukee's north side, and we're right here because this is an area where a lot of people were hit pretty hard with the flooding that happened on Saturday night into Sunday, and I can step out just so you can get to see a little bit of that aftermath that is still here. People still have items left out on their lawns. Many of them have been here for days. Some of them are bulky items like furniture and mattresses. A lot of things are in trash bags right now. Folks say they've been taking things out since the weekend, piece by piece, leaving them here. Some are waiting for the city to pick them up. Others are kind of taking matters into their own hands and getting rid of it themselves. But this is kind of what we are focusing on today, the items that are left out on people's lawns and what the city is doing about them. So earlier today, Milwaukee's Mayor Cavalier Johnson, as well as those with the Department of Public Works, talked about how they are out here, surveying the damage and focusing on cleanup efforts. So those with the Department of Public Works say they're utilizing this app that they have implemented about 2 months ago, and they call it Routeware. So what that is, folks who are in sanitation trucks on their regular routes, they can go down areas like this where they see big bulky items left out on people's lawns. They can take a photo of that, and then that photo will then go out to other crews who will come out here. It'll log the item as well as the location, so folks know where some of the hard-hitting areas are, and then they can come down here, and they say this just makes the process so much easier for them to help and clean up these big bulky items, some of them that you're still seeing out on people's lawns right now. They say this has been a really efficient tool in helping them to sort of speed up this cleanup process right now that, you know, it's causing a lot of folks a lot of headache and heartache out here, having to lug out items that they have had for years, furniture, things that have meant so much to them that's just now drying out after sitting in, you know, just sewage-filled water, you know, a lot of it just water damage. So that's what the sense that I've been getting while I've been out here so far, just talking to people who are just waiting for the city to come and take some of those big items that the city says they now have an app that's helping them take care of that a lot quicker.
Durante, I know you've been covering the devastation since the very beginning. Compare for me what you saw then versus what you're seeing now on the ground where you are. What are you noticing? I mean, I know it's the obvious flood. The water is not behind you, that's obvious. But in terms of just the sense from the community that you're getting, what have you been able to notice and glean from your time on the ground now?
Emotions have shifted a little bit, Donovan. You know, of course, when this was so fresh and heavy, and it still is, but over the weekend when we were out here covering it, you know, folks were still just in panic mode and shock mode, just not understanding how this happened or why this happened, and still just trying to come to terms with how they woke up to so much water in their homes. Some folks woke up to water, you know, in their businesses. Just it was more of a shock phase right there. And then, you know, where do I go? What do I do now? Now we're kind of in that recovery mode where folks are, it's like going through the stages of grief, you know, and folks are, some of them have reached that acceptance stage, and they're just like, okay, we're here now. Where do we go from here? You know, how do I proceed with getting rid of so many things now? And a lot of folks are waiting for funds. I spoke with a woman who says she was questioning, you know, when is FEMA going to come out here, or just wanting to know more about that process. So before it was about dealing with the loss, and now it's about recovering from that loss.
Are you noticing people around you in the neighborhood where you are? Do they think this technology that the county and the city are using are going to be game changers for them, or do they think it's just going to be another tool that will be compounded from so many other people in their shoes, thus putting them at a longer wait time?
I don't think a lot of them even know that it exists, because the city only talked about it at around 9 o'clock this morning. So I spoke with a lady and a gentleman who was just sitting out on their porches, and they didn't even know that that particular tool was being utilized. They were just waiting for the city to come and take their things. But the woman who I particularly spoke with, she said that nothing has been done for her by the city so far, as in they have not come and reached her place yet to get rid of the things. So she's been just taking matters in her own hands and getting rid of things herself. So I don't think, although the city is using it and they say it has been efficient, I still don't think it's widely known that this is what they're using.
Well, I tell you what, man, the prayer is and the hope is that folks are tuned in here and are tuned in to your story later this evening, and hopefully that people will go in droves to download the app and start using it so that they can get the resources and the help that they desperately need. Durante Matthews reporting for us from Milwaukee. Brother, looking forward to seeing your reports later on this evening on our broadcast on television. Thank you so much for what you are doing and keeping us informed, my man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donovan.
All righty. All right, folks, we are going to take a quick, short break really quickly, but in the meantime, we are hoping to check in with our Jason Calvi, who's also in Southeast Wisconsin, surveying the damage, looking at recovery efforts as it relates to what folks in Waukesha County are dealing with the dam in that area. We should also note that we earlier in the digital broadcast here on the live desk have heard from a representative of the Lowlands Group. That group owns Cafe Hollander in Wauwatosa, which, by the way, is one of the hardest hit areas. That gentleman was talking about how much devastation that restaurant is seeing and will have to recover from. He mentioned earlier in the broadcast that their 75 to 80% of their equipment is ruined. We should also note that they are going to have to repair the floors of Cafe Hollander. We also know that the kitchen was deeply impacted because it is on the lower level of the restaurant, closest to the water, and so a lot of water got in that area. That's closing down the kitchen for the foreseeable future. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. We do know, according to that gentleman who is with the group that owns Cafe Hollander, they're looking to hopefully reopen by mid-September. He didn't really put a specific date on it yet because things are ever changing. A lot of moving parts here, as you can imagine. But he did, which I thought was very heartfelt, he did make a point to say that he wants folks who are watching this broadcast or folks who are wanting to help. He says, we don't need donations. The gentleman said, we want you to support local, small-owned businesses who particularly may not have flood insurance. He says, take all of your efforts, your charitable donations, and send them that way. So kind of a selfless act here, and it was really nice to see him recognizing that, hey, there are so many other people who need help just like we do. Support them, make sure that they are supported, make sure they are loved, make sure that they know they matter. So I think that's kind of like the silver lining in such a tragedy, right? We're seeing neighbors helping neighbors and people coming together for the greater good. But in the meantime, we are hoping to check in with Jason Calvi, who will give us another angle and another perspective on how parts of southeast Wisconsin are continuing to recover from the devastation from the historic floods we saw starting Saturday. Folks, we are going to take a quick, short break, but we'll be back with more Wisconsin Live Desk on the other side. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Wednesday afternoon.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Donovan Long here, top of the hour at 1:03. If you are just now joining us, thank you so much for staying connected with us. If you are new here, let me tell you a little bit about us. All right, we are a digital broadcast, I should say. And this is our real-time way of updating you with regard to the latest stories, the headlines that are happening not only in our community, but across the country and around the world. As you can imagine, our big story that will likely remain our big story throughout the week and on into the subsequent weeks is the historic flooding that we have seen here in southeast Wisconsin. We've been talking to our reporters on the ground, Durante Matthews, our Jeff Rings, who's reporting for us by virtue of showing us some drone video of some areas that have been devastated by the floods. We're also going to hear from one of our other reporters, Jason Calvi, who's in the field as well. One of our other photogs, Gabby, who's been reporting in Wauwatosa, telling us the devastation folks there in Tosa Village are experiencing with regard to the restaurants and the hospitality industry. They're affected too. Everybody in every sector of this community right now is having to figure out how they're going to move forward. So that is kind of the big stories right now. We should note that there are so many resources available to you, and I know my producer has a couple of them we want to itemize for you just so you are aware of the help that is available to you. Delaney, are we able to pull up, I guess, specifically Lowe's? We can start with that one, if possible. Do we have a full screen we can pull up? I am waiting on a response. I do know that Lowe's is giving away free supplies, cleaning supplies, to folks who need it, right? It's available right now while supplies last. We know the Franklin and Wauwatosa locations of the Lowe's stores are offering this type of service for all of you folks out there who desperately need it. And this is a good time to really plug in and take advantage of the resources that are available to you. We do know that cleaning supplies can be pretty expensive, let alone buying it in loads and in bulk like you probably need it if you are one of the ones who are having to clean up what the damage from the storm left behind. We do know that supplies started being available today at 10 o'clock this morning. We do know that folks at Lowe's are handing out free recovery items while the supplies last. We know each store will distribute more than 190 Lowe's buckets filled with supplies. Each bucket is packed with sponges, flashlights, bottled water, trash bags, goggles, and hand sanitizer, among other items, to ensure that folks have the resources they need in order to move forward. Folks, I do want to go to our reporter, Jason Calvi, who is right now on the ground for us in Waukesha County. He's getting ready to do an interview with whom I believe is the fire chief. Let's listen in to see what recovery efforts are looking like on the ground there. Jason, it looks like we have you now, brother. What have you learned in the press conference? Where do we stand now as it relates to the recovery efforts?
Hey, Donovan, good to be with you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to talk earlier. I know you were calling for me a few minutes ago. I was actually doing visual observer, which is where we have our drone up in the sky, and one of my duties as a visual observer is to keep my eyes focused on that drone, make sure we're not running into any problems with power lines, trees, anything like that. So I have a very serious duty when I'm doing that visual observer. I wasn't able to leave my post to then come talk to you. So sorry about that confusion a few moments ago. The drone is now...
needed.
Yeah. So we're in Merton right now. This is Mill Pond. I've got the village president as well as the fire chief to talk about what exactly is happening here. I know there's been an emergency alert for people about the possibility that there might be some problems going on with the dam. So we're standing on the dam right now, or right to the side of it, actually. So I want to talk to the village president right now and the fire chief. So we'll do that right now, Donovan.
Sure.
Mr. Village President, thank you so much for your time today. How worried are you about possible issues with the dam right now?
Well, as far as the dam goes, the DNR has assured us they've taken a look at our plans when the dam was built. There's a 9-foot steel wall that goes down from the bottom of the dam down into the ground. It extends 20 feet in either direction, north and south of the dam. So from a dam failure severity, they have it very low. It's our spillway in the area around the spillway in our parking lot, which is a big concern at this point.
So spillway is when it gets to a certain flood stage, it'll spill out of the dam onto what's planned, which is, I believe, the driveway we're standing on?
Yeah, spillway is actually the area that the water goes over the dam into normally. Shadowcast forecasting, things like that, when you look at what a dam can do and where the water can spread if the dam fails, is a measured, calculated report. But they're saying that our dam, the structure itself, is solid. We're more concerned about the ground around it and the parking lot that we're standing on.
We know we could see a little earlier there's a big sinkhole on the other side of, I guess, the spillway.
Correct.
And so the concrete's kind of caved in, and so there's water pooling in there. What's going to happen with that, and how much of an issue is that for the structure of the dam to have that structure caved in there?
Yeah. So what happened there was the water that goes down the spillway is going down with such force that it got under the wall, and it started to liquefy and deteriorate the gravel and the ground underneath, causing the sinkhole. It started Monday night with a footprint that somebody stepped on and it went in, and it's grown to what it is today. We need to get the water out of the pond to prepare for future storms. With that, in that vein, we're adding water to that area, unfortunately, but it's a catch-22. Either we add water to that area or we wind up with a pond that's too full. So the trick is, the balance is to get the water out, be able to shut the dam down as low as we can, get the water level in the spillway down, which will get the water level where the sinkhole is, get that down. And then from there, the DNR can work with us so we can get down in the hole, assess what the damage is and what the remediation process is.
And the state is on the ground in this area kind of looking at where this water is coming from. The major issue is Bark Lake, right? Bark Lake has gone way over its normal banks. It's flooded areas around there. And I believe there's a problem with the outflow of the lake as well.
Yeah, so I contacted my counterpart in Richfield yesterday. We work very closely with them when we have a problem like this. We work very closely with Heartland when we have a problem that deals with the river and the water, because we want to know what's coming at us, and we also want to alert our neighbors what's coming down their way. So last night I learned that the Bark Lake outflow is plugged with debris. And so the water we're battling now is the water from the river and what rained into the river and the tributaries that fed into the river. We haven't yet seen the water from the lake come down this way. So we're working with the DNR. The DNR and the state of Wisconsin are in the area right now. They're working on some very rough calculations and trying to do a very quick calculation to tell us what to anticipate when it comes and what level we should keep the mill pond at to have capacity to handle it when it comes.
The Bark Lake, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is 40 acres?
Roughly 40 acres. It's roughly double what you see here right now.
So you're talking about a ton of water, and that outlet is plugged, you said. So when that either force of nature pops that cork, so to speak, what's going to happen with all that water coming down the Bark River, coming into Mill Pond behind us?
So that's the mystery that the state's trying to help us unravel. So when water is released into a river and it releases high, there are areas off that river, low areas, that some of the water will go into. It'll kind of stockpile and store there, and it will eventually get into the groundwater and find its way back to the river. The question is, after all the rain we've had, those little pockets that help as a shock absorber from the water coming down, how full are they? How much can they handle? And then calculate how much would come out of that lake this way, and give us a pretty accurate rendition or at least guideline, I should say, of what we're faced with at that point.
So that's kind of the calculations. The DNR is looking at all of this river that leads into this pond here, kind of figuring out where the water could go, give you calculations. Right now, this pond behind us is actually lower than normal, which is kind of surprising because you guys are letting more water flow through the dam here.
Yes, we're letting water out at a very calculated rate, not to erode the village of Heartland and their shorelines and their businesses. We're letting out at a slow calculated rate to keep drawing the pond down for two reasons. One is we got to have that capacity if we get a surge from the north. Secondly is we have to draw it down far enough below the dam's rollover point that we can close the gate on the dam, stop the water for a period of time to where our engineers and the DNR and the state can get down there and look at the situation and assess the damage and help us develop the best game plan to put everything back together.
How worried are your fellow administrators, fellow elected leaders downriver in Waukesha County, Jefferson County? How worried are they calling you? Are they worried that this is going to lead to massive flooding downstream?
We touch base. We've been touching base every day with Heartland. I touch base with Heartland several times a day to let them know what's going on. Beyond the Heartland area, as you go down towards Nagawicka, I know Nagawicka's full, but they're still able to handle the water. At the rate that we're releasing, it's not that big of an impact downstream. But what we want to do is we want to keep it that way, right? If we get the bulk of the water from Bark Lake, we want to have the capacity to still release it at the rate we're releasing now, which is helping everybody else downstream. So we have about 8 people, municipalities that we're on an email string right now, and I'm putting out regular updates as far as what's going on.
So when we talk about a dam failure, I don't know if that we're at that stage right here with the technical definition of failure, which does not mean that it's broken.
Yes.
It just means it has a structural.
So we're at the middle right now. We declared a level 2, which is that there is no imminent threat that the dam has failed, but yet there could be erosion and other causes that could cause issues. We're at that stage right now. The highest level is the dam has failed or it's in imminent danger of breaking. We're not at that stage, and the DNR tells me again that the way we're constructed, we're not going to get to that stage.
Do you know off the top of your head, either of you know how old this dam is? Put you on the spot here. We'll have to get the historical records out to check that out. I know the state keeps track of it.
I know the spillway. I was on the board when the spillway was fixed, and that was 2020. I'm sorry, 2000.
Okay.
Everybody's gonna laugh at me because I keep saying 2020, but I believe the dam is late 60s, early 70s. But we go through a dam evaluation on an annual basis with the DNR. We have to have engineers study everything, and our dam has passed every year. So it was in good shape when it was built. It was a good design. It's still in good shape today.
Donovan, any questions you want to ask for the village president here?
Sure, Jason. First, thank you so much for all of your help. You're in what you're doing on the ground there. Jason, just curious on, like, honestly, for people just watching who may have family members in the area or who live near the area or are business owners, what is their message to the folks living near affected areas and flood zones?
Yeah. Let me ask you, Village President, as far as the businesses, we've got houses right next to the dam, downstream as well in those neighboring communities. I think Delafield, as you had mentioned, the Heartland area as well. And I think it goes all the way to Jefferson County as well, right? What's your message to homeowners in this area, business owners as well?
Well, the message to our homeowners is that we're not alone. We have a great team behind us between the Waukesha County EOC, their dam specialists, the DNR, and I've been in contact with the state in Madison today over this. We've explained what we've been doing to release water at the rate we're releasing. We test every day to see if we can close the gate, if any more water is coming back, how fast it builds up. If closing the gate would put us right back in the spot we were during the storm. We report back to them. They're helping us out. The water going down the spillway right now on the other side of Main Street, the reports I've gotten from the homeowners there and the businesses over there is that today the water has receded. It was their homes were not in danger, but it's receded more to like the actual river bank right now. So the rate that we're releasing is a very safe rate for people downstream. And all we can tell them is we've got a good team behind us. We're working as hard as we can to try to make it as easy on them as we can with this amount of water, knowing that we don't know what's going to be coming down. No pun intended. That we don't know what's coming down the river at this point until the state can determine that.
When you saw that sinkhole, I mean, how worried were you at that point on Monday?
Worried enough that we taped everything off. We started coming down here by the hour and got a hold of the state right away and said, overnight something happened that's going to be bigger than us. We need a team. We need a team.
For us that don't work with this engineering every single day, we've got this dam here. There's two sides of the dam. This is something that you can lift up. There's a gate here. It's made of massive concrete, but you can lift it up to allow. So what would you do? Why would you be lifting that gate up?
So there's two parts to the dam. The farthest part, which you can't see on the camera right now, is called the roller. Very simply, there's a set height of the lake or of the river or of the pond, whatever it may be, and the water rolls over that top. And that normally regulates the height. Any excess water rolls over, it gets down to the top of that roll, and it stops at that level. That's our normal water level. The other side right here is called a tainter, and that's a cable system where we can raise and lower a gate from the bottom and release additional water as needed if the roller isn't keeping up. So right now we have water coming off the roller and we have water coming out the bottom of the tainter, and we adjust that tainter up and down to keep the flow going downstream consistent. What we don't want to do is get in a situation where we have to come down here, open the tainter all the way, and then call our neighbors down south and say there's a massive amount of water coming your way, get ready for it. The slower we can release it and still balance what's coming from Mother Nature, the better off we all are.
Thank you so much. We'll wait for DNR to give us more updates on what happens next. Fire Chief, thank you for your time. First name and last name, I didn't ask you ahead of time. Sorry, Chief.
No, that's fine. First name Josh, last name Harl.
Okay. And how do I spell the last name?
P-A-R-A-L.
So what's the concern level for you here as you're looking at the dam, as you're looking at that plugged Bark River upstream, I think about 6 miles upstream, right? What's your concern right now?
We've been working very, very close with the village here. So the concern level, moderate right now. We're doing what we can here to get this water level down. Our job has just been coming down with the village, checking where the levels are at, checking where that hole is, if it's gotten any larger, if there's any threat to the dam. Everyone that we've had out here that knows about these types of things have all said there's no threat to this right now. We're just trying to mitigate the issue that's coming down towards us here. So our job has been focused on making sure everything's going the way that it should be, and then we also do prep for worst case if we were to have a failure here. Worst case of, okay, what does it look like if we need to block off the roads here, make sure that no one else comes in. Where's that flood going to go? We've been checking the maps and such where that floodplain is, making sure the residents know there, and then figuring out what would the plan be to get those people out.
So there's a possibility of flooding at some point in time, because you got that lake up ahead, or up 6 miles ahead of us upstream. It's plugged right now, the outlet. So once that, like it's a cork on a champagne, it's going to pop at some point, either Mother Nature or something else.
Yeah.
How worried are you when that water comes down?
Well, we're doing a lot to get this water level down. We got a good amount of area here that can absorb that water. We got 6 to 8 miles of river that can also absorb that water there. And the lake isn't all going to come at once. It's going to take several hours for that to drain out. So we just have to make sure that we can handle that rush that comes down. That's going to fill this up more. But at the same time, we're going to be letting a lot more out then. So based on what we've been doing here, I'm a lot more comfortable now than I was than was yesterday when I found out that, oh hey, we got a lot more water coming on down. But we're doing what we need to get that water level down to make sure that that surge that comes, we can handle it and then gently pass it off so we don't flood out anyone else.
Well, Chief, thank you so much for your time. Sure. Donovan, we are here in Merton where you see the fire chief. We talked with the village president, really watching this dam. They're getting reassurances from the state that this is structurally going to be able to handle all of that water, but they're really kind of worried about what's happening about 6 miles upstream, the Bark River, where they say the outlet is plugged right now, and at some point that water, which is the water levels have really risen at the Bark Lake, and which is also in Waukesha County, Bark Lake.
That's next county.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So up in Washington County, so they're really worried about that water coming down, and so they're kind of watching exactly what's happening up there. But they say they're really taking action right here to make sure that the pond behind me, Mill Pond, they're really keeping it low right now. Mm-hmm. So actually, Bo, if you can zoom in on the concrete there, right at the entrance of the dam there, you can see, Donovan, if you look at that, where the pond is right now,
yes,
and where it normally is actually where all that sediment, the white line there, that's where the pond normally is.
Okay.
And so right now the pond is lower. They're kind of getting that pond ready for an influx, a massive influx of water to be coming downstream once that outlet, they say, on the Bark River is unclogged. Like I mentioned a couple times, it's like a cork. It's going to pop that bottle of champagne, and that water is going to come downstream from the Bark River, about 6 miles upstream, come down. That's why you're seeing the Mill Pond right now at a lower level based on that line right there. That white line is where it normally is, and now it's much lower, several inches lower than what it would be normally.
Yeah, interesting. I was listening to the interview you had with both gentlemen there, and they really are at a catch-22. It's like they're trying to solve one issue that will affect another one and trying to keep that issue from becoming a problem. So I know mitigation efforts are clearly at the forefront of their tasks right now. Jason, I do want to just briefly recap something. So it wasn't the fire chief. The gentleman you spoke to earlier, just before the fire chief, indicated that they have declared a level 2 in the county, meaning there's erosion but no breach, and they're trying to keep that dam from failing.
Right, yeah, that's what he said. It's level 2 for the dam, fire chief. The level 2 for the dam here. What was the status of that? Where is that on the kind of the scale of dam structures and kind of what you're looking at here?
There's a total of 3 separate levels. Level 1 is there's an issue coming in, rising water, but there hasn't been anything wrong with the with the dam or the structures around the dam. Level 2 is, hey, we had some type of failure of some kind. That's what we've had over there, not part of the dam, but part of the spillway down there. So that's why that is a level 2. That also gets other things moving, gets a DNR moving, gets a state moving, gets all those other types of things that we need coming over here to now focus on this issue here. Level 1 is we've had a failure, or it's going to fail very, very soon.
Okay. Well, appreciate that, Fire Chief, for that update on the different levels of dam status in the state of Wisconsin. Again, he mentioned that the state is actively monitoring the Bark River, which is, again, going to be flowing in to Mill Pond here. So they're really looking across that area for the 6 miles from Bark River down here. They're looking to see when that cork, so to speak, pops on the outlet of the Bark River, where that water is going to go. It's going to have spaces to go along that Bark River, and then some of that water then obviously the water is going to come down here at some point, but how much of it will be soaked up in the land around the Bark River north of here? That's a question for the state. They're looking at, they're investigating right now as we speak, Donovan.
No kidding, a lot to unpack. Now, Jason Calvi reporting for us from Waukesha County. Jason, thank you so much for your reporting on the ground there, getting us that up-to-the-minute information, brother. Really appreciate you and the work you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Donovan.
Anytime, anytime. And you'll see more from Jason later on in our broadcast, starting at 4 o'clock, and he'll have his reports, of course, on our broadcast and our digital platforms as well. Fox Local mobile app, you can tune in and connect with his reports, as well as our other reporters' information there with regard to cleanup efforts. That, again, was Jason Calvi in Waukesha County reporting on the Mill Pond Dam that has been severely damaged as a result of the flooding that started on Saturday, which of course is affecting so many parts of southeastern Wisconsin. Folks, we will take a quick short break in just a few minutes here and be back with more news, weather, and everything else in between. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be back.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Donovan Long here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We've been discussing the impacts the flooding has had on southeastern Wisconsin, but we want to take you a little bit further south to the state of Florida, where right now city leaders there are holding a news conference about what's called 7-hydroxymetragenine. It's this legal compound apparently found in the drug kratom, It's now been classified by the FDA as a Scheduled 1 controlled substance. Let's listen in to see how folks there are going to try to make sure this specific compound doesn't fall in the wrong hands.
Increase the risk of peanut allergies or medical groupthink when it came to prescription opioids are fine, they're safe, they're not addictive. I grew up with that dogma. Turns out there was someone like Mr. Simpson who challenged that. His name is Dr. Art Van Lee, an internist, who in the 1990s said, no, wait a minute, my patients are getting addicted to oxycodone. And this dogma needs to be challenged. He petitioned the FDA to stop. He thinks we at the FDA contributed to the problem. I agree with him. And he wrote letters to Purdue Pharma saying, wait a minute, these claims are not true. They're not supported with what he's seeing on the ground. Well, we have to be proximate to what's happening on the ground. We cannot live in the ivory tower of the ruling class of the United States. I've come from academia. We've got to be in the vape stores. We've got to understand what kids are taking, what they experience, and what the medical effects are. Let me read for you something that's hard to read, but I'm going to read it for you because I think it's important. As the Attorney General just said, 2 weeks ago, the FDA announced in a giant project in the Trump administration led by Secretary Kennedy that we are going to go hard at the opioid epidemic in all of its forms, in all of its disguises. It was disguised as prescription drugs that could help you with chronic, mild lower back pain. And now it's disguised as synthetic concentrated 7-OH. It was disguised as fentanyl, as an additive agent. Well, we can't get caught flat-footed again after hundreds of thousands of children have died. Immediately after we did the event 2 weeks ago, taking action to initiate the process to schedule synthetic concentrated 7-OH as a controlled substance in the United States, I got this communication from a very prominent person in the United States. Please tell the FDA Commissioner and RFK and others who participated in the press conference yesterday how personally, deeply grateful we are for their works on 7-OH. We tragically lost my stepson to 7-OH last Sunday. Although he had struggled with addiction for many years, he was completely clean for 5 months. He had a job that he loved, and they loved him. He attended church every week, and he was being taught by missionaries. In fact, in his last conversation, it was with missionaries before taking 2 7-OH pills before going to sleep, never to wake up. As I said, he was clean and free of addictions other than his vape pen. He called me on May 31st to tell me he had stopped at the vape shop to buy a vape and was offered a fruity pill and was told that it was kratom. He said that he took the pill and became addicted and that he should have done his research. He died the night he took 2 20-milligram 7-OH pills. The wrapper was at his bedside. There were no other drugs or alcohol in the house. We are very focused on eliminating 7-OH so no mother has to go through the pain and agony she is feeling. Please let the team know that they can count on us to fight this monster in any way, including attending press events or testifying. It must be taken from the retail shelves as soon as possible. This is not just like an opioid. It does not just have opioid binding properties. It is not just a agonist on the mu receptor. It is an opioid. It is scientifically meeting the criteria of an opioid, and yet you can go in a vape shop in America almost on any corner and buy it like a cup of coffee. We have to be proximate to what is happening right in front of us. We got burned with fentanyl. We got burned with prescription drugs. we cannot get behind the 8 ball again. This may be the fourth wave of the opioid epidemic. Concentrated synthetic 7-OH may be the fourth wave of the opioid epidemic. I hope it's not. I hope we're wrong. But why not be proactive instead of reactive? So for that reason, I applaud Florida and this administration, Attorney General Uthmeier, and all the folks standing here with me for taking strong action to not only legally address concentrated synthetic 7-OH as an opioid, but also to educate churches and synagogues and other houses of worship and school boards and parents and doctors. Very few doctors that I talked to, including my own doctor friends, even have ever heard of 7-OH or its many nicknames like 7-omega or 7-hydroxymetragenine or MIT or an enhanced kratom. This is not enhanced kratom. Our focus is not on the kratom leaf. Our focus is not on kratom. There's the kratom leaf, which has trace amounts of 7-OH. And then there is synthetic concentrated kratom, which is popping up in vape stores all over America, and we need to know what's going on. This is part of a broader strategy that we are taking in the Trump administration to end port shopping of illegal vape products. 80 to 85% of the vape products in these vape stores in America are illegal. They've been doing port shopping. Most of these products come from China, where they're banned for Chinese kids, but they're on almost every corner in the United States. We're going to end port shopping. They're laughing at us. We turn them away at the port, goes back on the ship, they go to the next port. The companies who make these products are laughing at the United States. Well, no more. We're going to stop port shopping. We've sent letters to the distributors that they are distributing an opioid dangerous substance. We've got to get to the distribution networks. We are addressing the retail fronts, and we took action to initiate scheduling. The opioid crisis is not over just because there's other news. We have to remember that perhaps 1 million Americans have died because we were doing too little, too late. So with that, thank you again for having me here, and you have the full support of the FDA, and appreciate all the actions and the work here at Tampa General Hospital. Thank you.
You see these smoke shops, vape stores, hemp stores, you see them oftentimes popping up near schools, near universities, near high schools, and we see advertising and marketing that is clearly focused on kids, mimicking candies and colorful wrappings and things like that. And our office, our state, is not going to tolerate it. We've certainly fought this in many contexts, and including the vape context. And as you see these chemically enhanced, powerful synthetic drugs being marketed to kids, and kids vaping throughout the day, they're sneaking it into schools, frying brain cells. You just wonder, how are we going to beat our adversaries like China if our next generation is drugged up on all these products? So we're going to protect our kids. We're going to take it seriously. We're going to continue to crack down, and Commissioner Simpson has been spearheading a lot of the takedowns of these illicit, harmful products that are hurting our kids, and I know we'll continue to do so. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here today, Attorney General. And it's a great opportunity for this day. This day is a long day coming. General Uthmeier, I commend you for this first bold step on an important issue impacting thousands of lives. A few years ago, FDACS raised the alarm on kratom. We were not able to get the support we needed during the Biden administration to treat 7-OH as a Schedule I drug, but we were able to prohibit the sale and marketing to Florida's children. Unfortunately, this drug is not just harmful to our children. A few months ago, we began to see movement like never before with President Trump's administration to raise concern about the 7-OH. There's no doubt that our country was slow to act on the opioid crisis and the ideal of addiction and the death of tens of thousands of Americans and tragedy for hundreds of thousands of impacted family members. We should have acted more quickly, more aggressively then. Fortunately, President Trump, the FDA, and our state leaders are not repeating history. I am proud to be part of the bold, forward-thinking leadership to ban 7-OH from the state of Florida. General Ethmeyer, this is an outstanding emergency rule. Thank you for drawing a line in the sand and giving the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services this much-needed tool to stop the sale of vape shop morphine. And let me be clear, we are going to aggressively pursue this issue and issue stop sales immediately. There are over 5,000 stores across the state that have been selling this drug. We have fielded complaints but not have been able to act. That ends today. This action is a wonderful, but it is only temporary. We will need more action by the state and the federal government. I am confident together we will have success. Street-level drugs hurt families, ruin lives, create victims, destroy our economy, and wreak havoc on our state. Today we fight back with the force of law through this emergency order. Today we make Florida and our families a little safer. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Commissioner, and a man that needs no introduction, Surgeon General Joe Latipo.
All right, thanks, John. Thanks. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And it's always nice to do press conferences with your friends. So Attorney General Ethmeyer is a very, very good friend of mine. I cut my teeth with him in the early part of my job here, particularly when things were more intense, and with sort of COVID fights, if you will. And also, absolutely, FDA Commissioner McCary, who I've known for some years, and we've crossed paths a lot. And brilliant guy. You should check it, read his books. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. Commissioner Wilton Simpson also, who's done a lot of great work here in Florida. Our leaders here at the university and the affiliated university and the hospital here in Tampa. So it's great that we have a terrific team here about this. And there are a lot of things happening, and I think that it's important. It's one of the interesting things about leadership is knowing when to act and knowing when to wait and gather more information. And our Attorney General has, he's voiced an intent to act, and in fact, he has acted. The emergency order is in effect as of today. Our FDA Commissioner, the Trump administration, is also moving to act very quickly. And this is one of those situations where fast action is right action, and it needs to be fast and ferocious. This is, so kratom is used by a lot of people, and, there's the issue, and I'll come to this in a moment, but there's the issue of why folks pursue different types of substances. I personally, I've had loved ones, very close loved ones, who have suffered tremendously. I'm sure every single person here knows someone, if they themselves have not experienced it, in situations where our traditional Western medicine system is inadequate. For acute illness, we are the cream of the cream. But for chronic diseases, for chronic illnesses, for all the fatigue and anxiety and chronic pain and suffering that people experience out there, Western medicine often doesn't offer very much. We have the same set of labs that we've been using for decades. You look at them, well, Mr. Pete, everything looks fine. Your chemistries look fine. Your cell counts look fine. But clearly the patient is not fine. So I'm very supportive of people seeking alternatives outside of traditional Western medicine for wellness. The problem here is, our problem is, as the FDA Commissioner McCary stated, our problem here is not with kratom. The problem today is with this 7-OH. We don't need any more substances that disconnect people from reality. We are in a period of time where, unfortunately, people are checking out of reality all the time, with all sorts of different substances. All of that is, it impoverishes us as human beings. I mean, it makes us weaker in every possible way. It makes us physically weaker. It makes us emotionally weaker. It makes us spiritually weaker. And it makes us more vulnerable to manipulation. the nonsense that we saw in terms of not letting people say bye to loved ones during the pandemic, or in terms of forcing masks on little children, or in terms of saying that it was okay for kids to sit for hours in front of computer screens for something that really was no riskier for them than other conventional risks that they encounter every day. That nonsense would not have been possible if so many of us weren't disconnected from the reality, from our relationship with God, the universe, earth, the trees, the beaches, the water, the wind, the things that make us human and facilitate our connection with the earth and God and each other. None of that nonsense would have been possible. And these drugs...
Ben Haleman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. All right, it is Wednesday, and I've been fascinated by this press conference because this is a drug I've never heard about before. It's called 7-OH. You hear this official here, and I believe this is the State Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, talking here. It's a synthetic from something called kratom, which is derived from Southeast Asia from a plant. That's kratom that, as he's talking about, some people use for alternative medicine. But down there in Florida, they've seen a big problem. People have taken that natural substance and they've turned it into a synthetic drug. Therefore, it's not natural anymore, and it's a lot more powerful. And the U.S. Food and Drug Administration just took action to classify 7-OH as a Scheduled 1 controlled substance. So that puts it in the same line as things like heroin, some of our other more serious drugs. And you could see down there in Florida, they're trying to rip these out of gas stations because a lot of them are found right at the counter from vape pens or gummies, and it can be dangerous, and it has been deadly down there. So I've done a lot of learning in this press conference. I've never heard of this drug before, 7-OH, but oftentimes when these become problems in other parts of the country, it spreads and could be a problem right here in Wisconsin. So that press conference continues. We'll keep watching that as we are along for another hour here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. You guys know the rule. If there's something live happening, we're going to bring it to you. And we've been dealing with flooding. Great interview from Jason Calvi on the situation out in Merton. Let's talk to the weather experts and get the latest when we return. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk exclusively here on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
What's What up, news nerds? Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 1:48 on your Wednesday, which, you know, if you're a normal 8 to 5er, it's the time of the week. You're pretty much on the back half of your week. You're almost to your weekend here. We're still watching the weather a little bit. We're drying out. Man, do we need it. There's the Milwaukee River down there that has not been cooperating because we had historic levels of rainfall last weekend. We're still feeling the effects. Jason Calvi is out west in Merton, where they are concerned about a dam collapsing if a big rush of water from upstream suddenly floods down where Jason is by the Mill Pond Dam there because of upstream it's plugged. So really interesting. You find all that information on your Fox Local app because we just had a great interview here on the Wisconsin Live Desk talking about that. All right, let's get the latest on the flood and bring in one of my favorite people in the world. It is meteorologist Stephanie Barkello back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I find the graphic behind you not surprising, but pretty fascinating that basically we were so dry, and one storm has already put us in the top 5 rainiest Augusts of all time, and we are nowhere near done with this month.
Exactly. It's only the 13th of August, Ben, so it's very possible we just get a little over an inch additional the rest of the month, and then we're going to see our rainiest August on record. But remember, before this past weekend, we had no rain to start August, so we really only had that one storm and then the additional rain that we had yesterday, and that's all our rain.
I keep thinking about that because, man, did we luck out that our soil was pretty dry after some areas saw more than a foot of rainfall because the soil was able to soak up some of it before it couldn't take any more of it. But honestly, it could have been worse, couldn't it have?
Yeah, absolutely. If our ground was a little more saturated, then yeah, absolutely. It is also so interesting because we were dry, the grass was getting brown, and if you still look, some of the grass still looks brown, which is bizarre because of all of the rain. That'll take time, of course, but yeah, and Mitchell International Airport is where all of our records are and all of our observations are for the city of Milwaukee. You know, we talked about a couple of those other sites the past couple of days from the MMSD sites that had higher rainfall totals, but Mitchell International actually had one of the lower totals. It was just over 6 inches.
Oh, only 6 inches.
I know, that sounds very insensitive, so I apologize for that.
No, but seriously, I mean, yeah, 6 inches, and then everybody north of that pretty much got more than that, right?
Right, and significantly more. You know how many spots picked up over 9-10 inches worth of rain. There were a handful of communities, Menominee Falls, New Berlin, over 11 inches. So yes, to say that Mitchell International was, you know, over 6 inches, that is considerably lower. But even that total puts us in 5th place for rainiest August so far. Also worth mentioning, yesterday we picked up an additional inch. I believe it was 1.08 inches because we had that morning batch of rain that was about 6/10 of an inch. And then yesterday evening, Milwaukee picked up about a 1/2 inch of rainfall. So we did add to it yesterday as expected. It just really did not do good things, of course. Now, the rest of today looks dry. Same with tomorrow. I know you can see some rain out west near the Dakotas.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
That's going to stay away from us. It's going to continue to move eastward. We'll likely see a few clouds from it, maybe later tonight into tomorrow morning, but we're not expected to see any of that rain. That being said, Saturday, we're already looking ahead to the weekend. The National Weather Service has already sent out an email to meteorologists, broadcast meteorologists that is, and other officials or whatnot, that numerous rounds of rain are back in the forecast for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I do think, unfortunately, our stress level is going to go up a little bit, getting closer to the weekend. Smooth sailing the rest of the week, so try as hard as you can to get as much done with some of this dry time, and just know that heavy rain may very well return by Saturday.
Now, you put it perfectly what happened here with a low-level jet stream kind of feeding in all the moisture on Saturday and all the back building of the storms. That was historic. We'd never really seen that. I mean, we've seen that kind of thing happen before, but maybe not that much rainfall in some of these spots ever. It takes time for these rivers to go down. We're still seeing, I mean, we're just talking out in Merton, kind of the issues they have as one of the dams. They're kind of worried upstream, the river's actually blocked, and they know at some point it will be unblocked by the power of Mother Nature.
Right.
All the water is going to move downstream. But it's going to take, even without any rain, even more days. Do we still have high river level warnings in effect?
We do. We have a handful. In fact, let me see. Oh, it's the next graphic. Look at that. We do have a handful more river flood warnings still. In fact, a new one as of this morning. That's the Rock River out towards the west. So that was a new addition. But these are our problem areas right now. We're still watching that Milwaukee River at Cedarburg as well as the Cedar Creek. Both of those are still under flood warnings set to expire Friday morning, and that's with no additional rainfall. The Menominee River, unfortunately, that's in effect until further notice. This is not actually a site where we have forecasting, so we don't have all of that up-to-date information and forecasting for that location, but they are still well above flood stage. So I think that's going to be in effect for several days still. And then the Fox River near Waukesha, that is set to expire Saturday morning. So you can already tell between Friday and Saturday, we're getting close to that next batch of rain moving in at that point in time. So it may, expire, but then unfortunately be reissued if we do end up seeing even just a little bit more rainfall, because those rivers, they can still rise pretty quickly with heavy rain.
One of the rivers that rose really quickly was the Menominee River. And
Yes.
Steph, I got some good news just into our inbox from the Menominee Falls Fire Department. I don't know if you remember the rescue that happened a couple of days ago. A dog had gone into the river there in Menominee Falls, and a couple of people, which you should never do, tried to go into the river to save the dog. Dog was swept downstream, and then the fire department arrives. Dramatic video. We've got it here on your Fox local app if you search for it. And one person was actually swept away, somehow rescued a half-mile downstream. A second person miraculously rescued. So the two people got out. But Steph, I have an update on the dog.
Oh.
The dog has been found safe.
Oh, what a miracle.
According to the fire department, and I've been seeing some online posts about this, the people were taken to the hospital, checked out, they're going to be okay. When they returned to the car, there was the dog sitting there, had somehow gotten out of the river. Who knows how far he got swept downstream.
Wow.
But really impressive from the Menominee River. It's not like the Milwaukee River. Very skinny. It almost looks like a stream at parts.
Right.
And right now with it raging, I mean, all that force of water, even now, it'll just take you off your feet in a second.
Yeah, and even on a calm, dry day after no rain, you're still going to notice that river, all these rivers are still going to be moving at a decent pace. It's not going to be raging like it was a couple days ago, but it's still going to be flowing at a decent rate.
Right.
So we still need to be very, very cautious, even in our dry days right now when we're near those rivers.
I'm just looking
Great
at
news, though. Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it
Who
is.
knows how that dog got out of the river? But also another reason why you maybe shouldn't go in after your pets, because sometimes they will find a way to get themselves out of harm's way on their own, and you don't need to risk your life doing it. So yeah, so we've got some good news on this day. I was so happy to hear that. Steph, thanks for being here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. I know how busy you guys have been and how exhausted you guys are.
It's great to be here, Ben.
Hopefully you do not get exhausted with our rain coming this weekend. Appreciate it. Thanks
No
for joining
problem.
us. I told you she's one of the best people in the world, and I mean it, because I really think Steph is awesome for coming here on the Live Desk, letting us know what's going on, and we're able to deliver some good news about that dog that was swept away. One of their owners got swept away when the fire department arrived, and everybody ends up okay. That's not always the case when we're reporting the news. So very happy to report the news there. All right, we got to take a break from the flooding. Coming up in just a few minutes here, really excited for our next guest, because we're always trying to highlight good things that are happening in Milwaukee. And there is a very cool event where you can help support the creatives and the musicians here in the Cream City. We'll talk about that next here on the Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. All right, we're getting really close to 2 o'clock. In just about a minute here, we will hit that for you on your Wednesday. This is the show where it's got to happen live. If it's happening live really anywhere in Wisconsin or beyond, we can take it. I've got all these controls here. Oftentimes I hit the wrong button, but I do have controls here, and we're going to take you there. Nothing's edited here. And we've been highlighting a lot of the flooding here today that's been going on. We continue to watch our river levels out there, and that will continue to be a story as the weather experts and our team of reporters continue to be out in the field. But I want to take a break from that right now, and I want to talk about something very special that's happening here in the city of Milwaukee, because we are always trying to support our musicians and our creatives and our artists, and I honestly think we've been doing a better job of that over the last few years, and part of the reason is because of this guy that I'm going to bring in onto the live desk is Tlaloc Rodriguez. I think I've butchered your first name. Say it for everybody so they know the correct pronunciation here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, I think you nailed it, man. It's Tlaloc Rodriguez.
Well, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. You are a musician. You bring people together, and there's a big event about to happen, a big milestone about to be reached. So tell us about the event that will be happening at the Cooperage coming up.
Absolutely. Well, you got it. Over at the Cooperage, it's going to be my 100th MKE Music Night. MK Music Night is a art and music showcase I've been hosting for about 6.5 years now. And yeah, I got a lot of fun acts lined up. I've got 12 local acts on board, and I've got 5 art vendors. There will be live music from 5 to 11:30. That's right. That's the flyer right there.
Well, tell me about it, because
it's going to be a hoot.
So you've been doing this for how long? And it's just an attempt to bring all sorts of people together in one room. Is it a different kind of music, or all different kinds of music?
Well, I think we're going to fall more on like the indie, folk, maybe a little funk and soul in there. That kind of is the overall vibe for this one. We've got like a couple punk bands on the bill. But yeah, it's really hard to get a little bit of everything for MK Music Night, hence 100 shows. So I'll usually do like a hip hop and R&B night, done multiple soul nights, Latin nights, and that's kind of how it helps me get in the scene a little bit more with the different pools of musicians and genres.
It's the venue's incredible. That was taken off your website. I think that's down at the Cooper's. It might be from somewhere else. But 100 shows. How long have you been doing this? How did this all start?
Well, the first one was on January 19th, 2019. And it was over at Bremen Cafe. I was basically just a young buck looking to book gigs with my band. And yeah, that's basically how it happened. I got like 7 bands on board for like a one night thing. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, the more bands, the more people. You know, the more people, the more they spend at the bar. And that's how we get paid.
And more likely the bar will bring you back,
venue.
Right? So tell me about.
Pardon me?
More likely that the bar will bring you back too if a bunch of people start showing up here. I was reading, I found an old college radio interview, I believe, that you did that I loved, where in the interview you said at the time you were in 11 different bands.
Yeah, exactly. The numbers fluctuated up and down, but being a bass player, I end up getting a lot of miscellaneous gigs, playing with a bunch of different groups. I mean, yeah, bass, that's what it is. If you play an instrument like the bass, the drums, piano, everybody always needs a guy. And I was a yes man for a while. Now I'm learning how to get the number down and try to put my own music at the forefront of it.
11 different bands, though. I'm like, I can't even figure out my schedule for today to figure out like where I'm supposed to be. I can't imagine being like, who am I supposed to be practicing with? Or even, how do you know that many songs? Like, how do you keep it all straight in your head when you're in so many things? How many different bands are you in right now?
Well, I've whittled it down to about 6.
Oh, only 6.
And but it's a lot of fun. I get to do some of the booking for some of the bands, so it helps kind of keep everything on track. And I try my best to space out the practices, but it all revolves around the show schedule. and sometimes all the bands that I'm in are playing in the same week, and that's when it gets crazy.
That's when it gets really crazy. You have a really interesting history with music, and I know for you, a relative of yours, was it your great-grandfather, your great-grandfather who used to play music? And now here you are trying to make a go of it as a career all these years later?
Basically, it's like just it runs in the family. So to my knowledge, my father, grandfather, and great-grandfather were all musicians in Mexico. And beyond that, I just assume we were all making sounds and playing
blood.
tunes. But yeah, my great-grandfather was actually a composer.
Wow.
And there's a fun story about him. I never got to meet my great-grandfather, but I guess he left behind when he passed. He had like all that was left was like one briefcase with all his compositions. And my grandparents, they didn't have a lot of money, and to make ends meet, they actually had to sell the briefcase of his life's work.
Oh, wow.
I know. Now it's up to me to go back to Mexico and chase it down.
Yeah, find it there. But I know for you,
who knows where it ended up now? It's
a lot of the music that you're creating and that you're playing homage to your past and your history, correct?
Yeah, when I can, and especially in my solo sets, I do like boleros, bossa novas. I recently started a Latin group in the past few years, and that's taken up a lot of my time and energy. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys to coordinate. You know, we can be up to a 14-piece band. But we do some salsa and some more traditional tunes.
Tell me about the Milwaukee music scene, because we have so many venues now. Every time there's like a new construction project that we're reporting on, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, there's a new music venue coming here to Milwaukee. It just seems like this community is doing a better job of supporting music. But how would you, as you're in the middle of it, what's your view on the music scene right now in Milwaukee?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting because there's almost multiple music scenes within Milwaukee. And I've explained this before, and it sounds a little weird, but there's almost not a lot of overlap. There's the hip hop and R&B community, and then you have like bluegrass guys. Somehow that overlaps into the jam band. That's how I learned a little bit about bluegrass. And then you got like the indie punk rockers, like the DIY scene coming out of like UWM. There's always house shows and new popular bands popping up all over the place. Then you've got like, there's older metal guys. There's more of a punk scene that I'm not really hip to. And it's basically like, I'm just trying to do these shows where I get people to come together. And it's been hard finding like the niche audiences. Oh, I forgot to mention the Latin scene is crazy, like down on the South Side, and all the different forms and varieties that it comes in. I'm actually booking live music over in Walker Square for the summer at the Walker Square Farmers Market. I'm the music director there, and I got a lot of varieties of Latin groups lined up there.
Well, and I think music is maybe the best way to showcase what our city is. We really are a multicultural city, always have been, and what better way to experience each other's culture than through our music?
Absolutely.
So tell us about the event again, because here we go, your 100th your 100th time doing this, which I just think is incredible. So where do we go to get tickets? How much does it cost? And who do you hope shows up?
Absolutely. You can go to CooperidgeMKE.com. They have a list of all their events, and we're the next big thing coming up. I don't think they book a lot of weddings over there. It's a really pretty venue. So there's actually less and less shows every summer, which makes it harder to get your foot in the door. But then it makes for a bigger happening. And yeah, it's a big conglomeration of a lot of people that I've been working with on the scene for a while. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And they got a big projector, so I get to be creative with different graphics going on behind the bands.
That is so cool. Well, we appreciate you coming here to talk about it here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Big congratulations. Way to keep your head on straight with 6 different bands, and this is on the low end for you, which I just think is bonkers. But really appreciate you coming on here on the Wisconsin Live Desk to Loke.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right. Have a great event. Appreciate it. How cool.
Thank you very much.
As we're just talking about the music scene here in Milwaukee. I mean, every night of the week, And I got to talk to that guy because he knows more about shows that aren't, the house shows he's talking about, that you got to know somebody. And now that I've got a kid, like nobody tells me about these shows anymore. But so he knows where to go. But I'm telling you, every night of the week there is something and somebody to listen to. But you should go down to his 100th event, that bringing people and musicians and artists together in Milwaukee. All right, I got a new feed that's just popped up here on the Wisconsin Live.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson has just started a press conference. He's talking about the flooding. He's at Olidia's. That's a bar in Walker's Point that received flooding. Just said he is now requesting for federal aid. Let's listen
quickly. As I said before, I want to thank folks in Milwaukee. There are so many neighbors out there who are stepping up to help their fellow neighbors. They're helping seniors to clean out their basements. They've cleared some of the storm sewer grates across Milwaukee. They're doing so many things in order to help with the recovery effort, and we really appreciate the efforts of people all across our city who are stepping up to make this a safer place for everybody as we work to get through the aftermath of the storm. Again, I want to help everybody checking in on somebody vulnerable, simply showing care. Ultimately, what that is this city. It's Milwaukee at its best. And we've seen this over the course of the last several months, too, that when there are big challenges that are facing the city, folks step up. And that's the city that I know, that's the city that I love, that's the city that I'm proud to lead as mayor. The Milwaukee Health Department has been on the ground since the very, very beginning of these flood incidents, working alongside city departments and community partners to ensure safety, to ensure health, and support all across our city. And so I'm going to have Commissioner Todoritis from the Milwaukee Health Department to come to the mic now, but lastly I'll just say that we're a resilient city. We always have been, we always will be, and we'll get through this together. All of us together, rolling up our sleeves, getting to the bottom of this. All of us will work to make sure that Milwaukee's a better place, not just through this, but after this as well. We'll face this challenge and we'll keep moving this city forward. So thank you again for covering this. It's really, really important. Folks in Milwaukee need to see, need to hear what's going on and get these updates. So thank you all in the media for doing that. And for now, I'll turn it over to Mike Todoritis, Dr. Mike Todoritis, the Commissioner of the Milwaukee Health Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Todoritis. I'm the Commissioner of Health for the City of Milwaukee Health Department. Here with the Mayor to talk about what's been going on in the city and to underscore some really key points. One of those is that 211 is your best connection to resources at this point. So you can call 211 to make those damage reports. There are some large wait times on 211 during these peak hours. So if you can use a mobile device or a friend's phone or a computer to submit that report electronically, there's a lot of links to that damage report to actually put that report there. I would ask every Milwaukeean and anyone in Milwaukee County in particular to, when they're talking to their friends and family, to say, hey, did you have water in your basement? And if they say yes, say, did you put the 211 in? As the mayor mentioned, it's critically important for the region to be able to unlock dollars for federal assistance. We know many people have lost water heaters, furnaces, furniture, personal effects. There's a lot of damage that has happened. You can drive through neighborhoods across the city and see just debris and bulk items outside on someone's driveway. So this is a critical moment to get those damage reports in, and then we're also using that to help prioritize where we're going to bring additional resources for like cleaning kits. So we're working with partners at American Red Cross and Salvation Army to make sure that cleaning kits get to some of those hardest hit parts of the city. There's a huge demand for those cleaning kits, so we're really trying to be strategic with where we go. And that data for damage reports is the best route to ensure that we know that you need some assistance. You can also use the click to action, as the mayor mentioned, for bulky item pickup, or if you have down tree limbs in your neighborhood, making sure that if you need additional city resources, the click to action or calling 286 city to get those resources, please use those. I just wanted to stress a couple other key points right now. The health department's monitoring diseases really closely right now, so we're really concerned about enteric and waterborne illnesses. So we've been tracking that since the start of the flooding on Sunday night and haven't seen any additional upticks in cases right now. We're also monitoring people presenting to the emergency departments for GI issues or foodborne illness related issues. Those are the most common diseases that we see uptick during a flooding event. We're also watching the West Nile virus, which is spread by mosquitoes. So blessing and a curse with that, the heavy rain washed out a lot of the potential mosquito larvae across the region. So I think it'll be a little bit of time before we see the mosquito colonies pick up. But we're watching that very closely because we want to ensure that people don't get sick through West Nile virus as well. The last 2 points that I just want to stress are the water right now. If there's standing water in your basement or around a manhole, just assume that it's contaminated with sewage. So please, 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 I've seen a lot of great photos of folks cleaning with boots and gloves. That's the best way to make sure you minimize your risk of getting sick. Wash your hands really well afterwards to make sure that you're not going to catch some sort of disease from those contaminated water. And then the other part to mention is that the city is paying very close attention to the water quality. There has not been any issues with the water to date, but obviously the Waterworks is closely monitoring that. And with that, I think I want to turn to Carly Hagerty, who's our Director of Home Environmental Health. We're here standing in Olidia's, which is one of the many food establishments in our city that was affected by the flooding. And Carly's going to talk a little bit about the department's support to Olidia's as they sought to deal with the flooding that they had in their basement, and offering additional insight into some cleaning tips that we have.
Hey you guys, Carly Hagerty, Director of Consumer Environmental Health. Thank you guys all for being here. I know this is something that I've really wanted to make sure we could amplify and talk about, particularly because we know everybody eats, right? So whether you're at your home or you're going out to eat, my department is always thinking right about food safety and making sure that consumers have what they need to be able to be safe. As you all know, right, we're dealing with flooding. We're also dealing with power outages. It might be both. It might be one or the other. So we started to understand this starting Sunday, right, that businesses were being affected. I believe some of you saw there was this video with Olidia's dealing with significant flooding in their basement kitchen area, and that started to, of course, have us work together, think about what do we need to do to get out to these businesses to make sure that we're providing the resources that they need to open. you know, Olidia's was affected. I would say they are probably the best of the worst case scenario that we're dealing with, right? They're here, they're open and operating, but it wasn't with a lot of work leading up to that point. Both on Olidia's behalf, we give them a lot of credit for taking the initiative, knowing that they needed to close, go through those items, and then working with us when we came on site to just make sure that anything else that needed to be addressed was addressed. So you're probably wondering, like, where do we start with that? And part of it is, okay, if you have standing water, there's probably very little you can do until that standing water has receded and gone away. And so, right, that happens. Now what? Now we're looking at not just your infrastructure, your floors, walls, and ceiling, but anywhere that water could have touched. So if you watch the video, you see there's just a ton of water coming up. It's splashing, it's seeping into spaces. Maybe you come and you didn't see the water standing, it's now receded, and you just know that there was flood water. So how do you address all of that? We really emphasize that businesses need to go through wash, rinse, and sanitizing any equipment that is in their space that is salvageable, right? There may very well be things that have lost power, are no longer working. You just have to discard those, and Olidia's certainly had that happen. We also, of course, know that there's product left over. Maybe it's in cardboard boxes, maybe it's in plastic, and you think it's still safe. We want to talk through that process with you. In a lot of cases, it probably needs to be discarded, and so those are things we want to work with the business on and talk through, or the home. And then certainly, like when you're talking about power outages, food that's in a refrigerator, it's going to be really hard. Most people aren't taking temperatures to know, like, what time did my power to go out, what was the temperature of that product, what time do I need to toss it out. We can talk through that with you. General guidance is, if you just simply don't have any idea and you just know you lost power, after 4 hours I would discard that food unless it's in your freezer and still frozen. When we talk about sanitizing and solutions, just emphasizing the general guidance is 8 ounces of bleach to a 5-gallon bucket of water, right? That's a healthy sanitizer, disinfectant, what you're going to want to use in your space to clean everything down after you've washed, rinsed, and sanitized. Yeah, I think what we're really trying to emphasize is, so Milwaukee has 14 food inspectors throughout the city, and they have been going out to each of their districts to survey the areas. Anywhere that we know that was affected, we are reaching out to those businesses to talk with them, see where they're at. If we can provide guidance, we're providing it. Quite honestly, most of the businesses have been extremely proactive and are already taking the initial steps that they need to move things forward. Others are just not in a place where they're even ready for us to come in and look at and help them with next steps. But having inspectors do that, we've reached out very specifically to businesses who have called us and are actively working with them. We do have several facilities that are simply closed, right? We've issued orders to cease. They know that before they're ready to open, they're going to call us. So I think the main thing I want to emphasize is, I'm talking a lot about businesses. This is also homes that are affected. We know that we lost power in some spaces, myself included. People have been affected by flooding. Think about maybe those refrigerators you have in your basement. A lot of folks have those. You likely needed to toss them out if they were affected by water. But what I would say is call our office. We have staff who are readily available to help with that. The telephone number is 414-286-8327, and that comes directly to my program, so you'll be speaking with staff who can talk to you about all things food safety that you have questions on, and if it's not us, we'll make sure we get you guys to where you need to be. I think that's... Any questions?
Ben Handelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is a press conference as they are talking about the help that they are trying to get for businesses
on the president's
out there in Milwaukee County. The mayor's saying that they made the request to FEMA to try and make a disaster declaration. Now it's up to the Trump administration.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're in the final minutes here. The mayor is speaking. Get back out there. They've asked the federal government to make an emergency declaration because of all the flooding and all the damage. Let's listen.
About that too. Are different or agencies within the city coordinating, right? Or are you all kind of trying to determine this independently?
Yep, Commissioner.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there's a lot of demand for support right now, and in working with the County Office of Emergency Management, the city's Office of Emergency Management, all of the departments are sharing data freely. I actually was just on a call with the fire department before the mayor arrived, talking about how we can continue to share that information. And one of the really simple things that we're doing internally is using that 211 data to map to our existing resources and the work that we're doing. The Department of Public Works is going to help us use some of their routing software that they use to do bulk pickup to help us plan how we're going to distribute the cleaning kits out. So we're doing unconventional applications, but the goal is really to keep people accessing the resources that we have and underscoring that 211 data is really guiding what the city can and do. And then as we get, fingers crossed, that money unlocked from the feds, that we can then use that information to prioritize helping someone get a new water heater or whatever that support looks like. But as the mayor mentioned, using your insurance, taking photos is really critical, making sure you remember your timeline for everything. Those are all really key pieces as we go through this claims process. Again, as the mayor mentioned, we are a resilient city and really asking everybody to help each other out with those 211 submissions and helping clear things and bring them to the curb as DPW looks to bring things to the dump.
And when are
So they're asking people to call 211. I actually have some new data from 211. There have been 7,226 total damage reports called in the 211 from the entire state, but most of the damage here in southeast Wisconsin. Milwaukee County has 6,287 of those reports. And we've heard from several leaders say that's so critical that you call 211 because that can be used to show the federal government how serious the problem is here in Milwaukee County. I've talked to so many of my neighbors. They don't have flood insurance, and they don't have flood insurance. Very few people in Wisconsin have flood insurance. First of all, it is bonkers expensive to the point you're like, what, does it even make sense to have a policy where you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars out per month? It's not practical. And then a lot of the people who have sewer backup insurance, their deductible's extremely high, only covers a few $1,000s. And we're talking thousands and thousands of basements that have been flooded with water, including Lydia. This is a restaurant there in Walker's Point. They dealt with some of the issues. They called the health department and they got help, and they are now back open again. So we'll continue to watch this press conference as it unfolds. But hey, as we're speaking about food, something big is happening, guys. I mean, really big. I can't see the inning that we're in here, but if the Brewers win today, they will get everybody free hamburgers because it will be 12 wins in a row. It's only happened twice in our city's history, and only one time was the Brewers, as it happened in, maybe two times, 1987, 2018, and possibly today. The Brewers are up 6-0 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've been destroying them. I want a free hamburger. Thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Stay with us here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to First and North. My name is Luke Canellis at Fox 32 in Chicago. Joining me on this week's edition of First and North. Let's bring in the crew. From Fox Detroit, the voice of the Lions, Dan Miller. From Fox Milwaukee, Lily Zhao. And from Fox Minneapolis, Ahmad Hicks. Hi, everyone. Hey, we're into the preseason schedule, but first, I want to talk about the injury news in Green Bay. Lily, I'm going to bring you right in. We learned this morning Jordan Love needs to go through a, quote, little procedure. Tell us about it.
Right. He was seen in practice yesterday with his left thumb taped up. It's his non-throwing hand. And today, this morning, General Manager Brian Gutekunst and head coach Matt LaFleur acknowledging he will need to get a minor procedure done on that left thumb. And it is something that, they are looking at, but from what Matt LaFleur has heard, it's going to be a relatively quick recovery, which is good news. I think the fact it's on his non-throwing hand is also good news, and the fact they caught it and want to address it sooner is good for the Packers and Jordan Love. It's a ligament issue in that thumb that they're going to get worked on, and the hope is to bring him back next week. So the fact that he could be back next week is really good news in some form, some capacity, but it's highly unlikely he will practice this week. Next week, we'll see. And then the plan was to play him in that Week 3 preseason finale against the Seahawks. Now that's looking very unlikely as well. So Jordan Love out at least this week with that thumb procedure. We'll see when he does come back. But the hope is that he should be ready to go for that Week 1 matchup against the Lions.
Okay,
guys.
so it sounds like the next game he starts for the Packers will be the opener against Detroit.